everybody, my name is Chef Claire. I'm here at the Thought Studio here at Century Square. So today we'll be making some Gula Melaka coconut oatmeal raisin cookies. So just a little background on myself. So I'm one of the resident chefs here at the Thought Studio. So I specialize very much in baking and also cake decorating as well. So today we are making a cookie recipe. So this is one of my recipes that's been featured in the Families for Life Red and White National Day dessert. So this is a soft and chewy cookie that is really delicious to have. Okay? Okay, so let's just start quickly now. Okay, so what I have here all together, I have all my ingredients. So I have some Gula Melaka. So Gula Melaka is a coconut palm sugar, which is made from cooking down the sap of the coconut palm. So it has a really smoky flavor and it gives a really nice sweetness as well. Some white sugar, desiccated coconut. So for desiccated coconut, if you don't have this, it's okay. You can just replace this with plain flour. So we are using 15 grams of desiccated coconut today. So you can also just replace this with 30 grams of plain flour. And then I also have 1 egg here. So this is just a regular size egg, about 55 to 60 grams without the shell. Okay, I have some rolled oats as well. So for the rolled oats, you can also use instant oats or quick cooking oats, but I usually like to use rolled oats for a better texture. Okay, and then we also have one of our main ingredients is also the raisins. So you can use black raisins or green raisins, or I'm using some sultanas here. Okay. Next, I also have some plain flour in my bowl over here. Okay, so what else you need is also your melted butter. Okay, so I just melted some of this in a pan here. So you can put your softened butter into a pan and then just melt it over the stove, or you can also pop it into the microwave oven for about 30 seconds. You can put it at 20 seconds and then give it a stir, and then pop it back in again until it's melted. You don't want to go for too long because it might explode in the microwave. Okay, so this is what I just melted in a pot. Okay. All right. Okay, so if you are baking along, make sure you have everything already prepared. So I have all my ingredients here. So what I'm going to do next is to cut my Gula Melaka. Okay, so you can see this is Gula Melaka always comes in blocks like this. So what you'll just need to do is to just chop it up very finely if you can. If you want to put it in a food processor, you can do that too. But usually I would just have it chopped up. So just chop it up roughly. So depending on the quality of your Gula Melaka, you'll find that some Gula Melaka might be very, might be very difficult to cut. So you just need to cut it up until it's quite fine. So you won't need to melt the Gula Melaka, you just need to get it chopped up. So mine is an artisan Gula Melaka. So this is actually from my stash that I've kept at home, that my in-laws always buy for me from Melaka itself. So this is very soft. But if you get the commercial ones that we find in supermarkets, they might be a little firmer and harder. So it might be a bit more challenging to cut. So you might need to put it into a food processor with a blade, which will help you to chop it up. But you still have to cut it into chunks first, okay? So if you are using a knife at home, you just chop it up into smaller pieces. Okay, they will need to be relatively small pieces so that it can melt into your cookie batter, so that they are not we won't have large chunks of sugar in your cookie. Okay, some nice chunks would be nice because you'll make little puddles of gula melaka which is really nice. Okay, you just keep this aside. Okay, so I have my gula melaka into the butter over here. So what I'm going to do next is to add in the white sugar. Okay, so the proportions of sugar here is 100 grams of gula melaka to 20 grams of white sugar. This is because we want a very soft cookie which has a very strong fragrance of the gula melaka itself. Okay. Okay, so what you just need to do is to just gently mix it through. It will be a bit lumpy at the start, but you just gently press it down using a spatula. Okay. It's fine if the chunks don't dissolve immediately. We're going to add in 1 egg, which will help to dissolve the sugar as well. Okay. Okay. We'll just let this sit a little while. We'll just add the egg now. So you have 1 egg. You just want to break that in. So you could break it into a bowl first to make sure there's no dirt or your eggshells don't drop into your cookie batter. So just 1 egg, we'll just add this in. Okay. So you can still continue using a spatula to mix this. So this is a really easy cookie recipe that pretty much doesn't need a stand mixer or hand mixer. So you can even make this using a spoon if you don't have a spatula at home. Okay. So just gently mix in the egg. So for today, you can actually choose whether you want to put vanilla extract or vanilla bean paste into this cookie. But if you don't put it in, that's perfectly fine too, because the flavor really comes from the gula melaka itself and also the fragrance of the coconut and the butter. Okay. Okay, you see once I've added in the egg, you'll find that the mixture is a lot smoother and then you don't really get any sugar chunks in it. Okay, so we'll just set this aside now while I get ready the rest of the dry ingredients. So what I have here is just some plain flour. Okay, if your flour is fresh, usually it's not lumpy. So what I usually do is I won't sift it. I will just use a whisk to gently mix through. Okay. So you can just gently mix through to get rid of any lumps. But of course, if you do have a sift at home, you can make use of that. And then you can sift all your dry ingredients down. So what next I'm going to add in? So in my bowl here, I already have my flour and also my salt. So next I'm going to add in my baking powder and baking soda. So these two are the rising agents for the cookie itself. So you'll need to measure this correctly. So you will need to put a 1/4 teaspoon. So you need to use a measuring teaspoons like these. So they have the marks that tell you how much needs to go in. So how I'll measure is, you just take the teaspoon and then you need to level it, okay? So just use your fingers to level it off so that it's the correct measurement. So the thing about baking is that it's precision and also a lot of technique. So when we are baking, we want to have everything measured properly and also to do it in the correct way so that your end product will be very consistent, okay? Okay, I hope everybody is still following along, especially for those who are baking along with us. So what I've already done previously is to combine my melted butter with the sugar. I chopped up my gula melaka and then added the white sugar and also then add in my egg after that. So this first part of my cookie mix is already ready over here. Okay. Okay, so next we are just going to combine the rest of the ingredients over here. Okay, so I think some of you are still cutting your gula melaka. So we'll just give you a little bit of time, especially for those who have kids at home. I think we want them to be very safe as well. So do take your time to cut the rest of your ingredients. Okay, I'll just clear some of my things. Okay, so maybe while you're cutting, maybe I can talk a little bit on the quality of the ingredients that we use for cookies. So the thing about cookies is the main flavor really comes from the type of sugar that you use and also the type of butter that you use. So today we're using an unsalted butter. So fat is the one that creates that coats your mouth when you taste it, your tongue when you taste it. So it's a very, it's a flavor that cannot be compromised on. So we would want to use a butter that you and your family enjoy having and enjoy eating at home also. So for me, I use a lot of European butters and also Australian butters. So you can use brands like Lepa, President, Arla, and then Embok is also okay, or you can use Golden Churn. Even New Zealand Anchor butter is really good too. So you just choose depending on what flavors you enjoy in your cookie. Okay. So also the freshness of the cookie, the ingredients also really matter, like the freshness of the egg and all your ingredients and all, like your rising agents shouldn't be lying in your pantry for too long because it might lose its chemical properties itself. And also the rest of the ingredients also, even like especially coconut is really sensitive to temperature changes. So if you use desiccated coconut like me, so this usually we can get in the supermarkets. So I would recommend once you open this, keep it in the fridge so that the flavor doesn't change, so it doesn't turn rancid as well. Okay. So in terms of this recipe, it bakes up to be a soft, chewy cookie. So it's more suited for a soft style kind of cookie. So it's not really meant for crispy style cookies, as there's a very high percentage of brown sugar, which is the gula melaka that we are using in this cookie today. And also because of the melted butter technique. So this technique actually creates a more dense and chewy cookie that keeps very well. Okay. Okay, I think we should be able to continue on. So I hope you have already finished cutting your gula melaka. Maybe you can give me a little raise of hands if you have completed cutting your gula melaka and putting it into your melted butter mix already. Let's just have a quick look. Okay, I think the cutting of gula melaka might be a bit challenging today because it's a bit firm. Yeah, okay, let's give a little quick 5 minutes to finish cutting the gula melaka, okay? Okay, so while you guys are cutting the gula melaka, I will just quickly talk about the type of baking trays and liners that you can use for baking your cookies. So let's just take. Okay, so usually for your ovens, they usually come with baking trays, so large baking trays. So you can use the baking trays that are in your oven already. So they usually come in dark the dark colored ones. So what you'll just need to do is to prepare a baking sheet to line the bottom of your tray. Okay, we'll definitely need baking trays so that the cookies don't stick to the bottom of the tray itself, and then it can bake, it can come off the baking tray as well. So if you don't have any liners at home, you might need to use non-stick spray. And then, yeah. Okay, so we have a question here. Can we just put the gula melaka in the butter to melt? Yes, you can, but you will need to chop it up to small pieces as well. Okay, so also make sure that when you are melting it together, the butter mixture doesn't get too hot, because if it gets too hot, your gula melaka will caramelize, and then it'll be really hard to, it'll be too hot for you to use also. Okay, so over here I've actually prepared some cookie baking trays. So these are just regular baking trays. It's a non-stick one, but I'm still putting some baking paper over it. So you just need to have the baking paper to fit your tray so that it will bake up nice and flat, and it won't have warped edges also. Okay, so you'll just need to have them fit the tray. So you'll probably need about 2 trays, and then you can use these later. Okay. And then if you don't have, you can also use a bakeable liners like silicone mats that are oven ready. Okay. Okay. I also have a ice cream scoop which I will use to scoop my cookies later. But if you don't have one, it's perfectly fine. You can also just use regular tablespoons, or like the spoons that you use at home. So you can use either. So if you have the time now, you can also just get these ready so that you can use them later. Okay. Okay. Okay, you won't need to brush the baking paper with butter. So usually baking paper is already greased. So you just need to keep it as it is. So we're talking about using baking paper and not parchment paper, the brown kind. You want a brown or gray kind. So this is the white kind, which is meant to be a non-stick baking liner. Okay, so this works really well for baking. So you can get these kind of baking liners in the baking shop, so, or even the supermarkets also have it. So you just need to buy the paper that says baking paper, baking parchment paper. There's another kind which is a non-stick kind, so which is those kind that you can find in the bookshops and the stationery shops. So that those kind is not the correct one. You want the one that says baking parchment paper, baking paper itself. Okay. Okay. Okay, so for the recipe, we will need about 100 grams of raisins. So you can just use a weighing scale to weigh it out. So I'm using sultanas today. You can also use black raisins or any other type of raisins that you have at home also. Okay. So you can put your vanilla into the melted butter mix here. So which is together with your this is the mix with the melted butter, your sugar and all that. Okay, so you put your vanilla extract here with the wet mix over here. Okay, for the amount of vanilla to use, you can use about half a teaspoon of vanilla extract or vanilla bean powder. So either one works. And if you don't have any and you only have vanilla essence at home, I would suggest to use only a quarter teaspoon of vanilla essence because it tends to have a bit of an artificial flavor. So for us, we usually like to use vanilla extract or vanilla bean powder because this is a natural extract which has real vanilla flavor. Okay. Okay, so if you only have two baking trays, you only have one baking tray. So what I'll suggest for you to do is to bake one tray first, let it cool, and then let your pan cool also before you bake another batch. Okay, so you'll just need to bake, because the cookies bake for quite a short time, so about 14 minutes, 13 to 14 minutes or 15 minutes depending on your oven. And then once it comes out, it cools, and then let it then cool down, and then you can use it again later. Okay, for the cookies, how long can you keep it for? So usually I recommend to keep it at room temperature for only up to about 3 days, because our regular room temperature is quite humid and quite warm, so it doesn't keep so well. So if you want to keep it for a longer time, I would recommend for you to keep the cookies in the fridge after. Okay, so for the ovens, what temperature should we preheat it to? So currently I'm putting the ovens here on top and bottom heat with the fan. So make sure you don't turn on the wrong mode with the grill on, okay? So make sure it's just the fan mode. I'm putting it at about 170 degrees here at the top studio ovens, because these ovens run a little bit hot. So I'm putting it about 170. So for your home ovens, if you have a built-in oven like this, I'll suggest you put it at about 170 or 175. So from your first batch of cookies, you can then adjust the temperature accordingly. Because sometimes if it's too hot, you'll find that the cookie browns too much or might even burn. Because this has a very high amount of gula melaka, which is already actually a caramelized sugar. So even more, it's more temperature sensitive. So you will need to adjust accordingly to your ovens at home. Okay, because everybody's oven is different and the heat distribution is also very different. So you'll need to know your oven well so that you can bake a product that is a cookie that is consistent in terms of the bake and the outer. Okay. So if you want to use the chocolate chips, if you want to use it together with the raisins, I'll suggest for you to use only 50 grams of the raisins and then put in 100 grams of the chocolate chips. But if you want to make this as a pure chocolate chip cookie, you can omit the raisins completely and just use about 140 grams of chocolate. So in the sense, if you have already prepared everything together with the gula melaka and all, so it will be a gula melaka chocolate chip cookie. But at the end of the class later, I will go through the different cookie variations that you can do with a regular, more classic flavored oatmeal cookie. Okay. So I have another question next. So what's in the flour mix over here? So I have my plain flour. This is 100 grams of plain flour with my baking soda, a quarter teaspoon, and another quarter teaspoon of baking powder, and also half a teaspoon of fine salt. Later, I will be adding in my desiccated coconut, and then also my raw oats. So these are all the ingredients you need to have prepared already, so that we can add it into our cookie later. So we can now continue on. So I think most of you have already managed to cut your gula melaka and to put into your butter mix over here. So just now what I did was to combine my melted butter with chopped gula melaka, my white sugar, and also my egg as well. So this is already all mixed up. You can see it's a very smooth mix now. So after I've mixed it all together, so sometimes it might be a bit chunky, so you can just use your spatula to press it down so that it will dissolve also. Okay. So next, what I'm going to do is I will be combining all my dry ingredients together. So just now what I did was I actually used the whisk to just gently mix through. So this gets rid of any lumps that's in the flour mix itself. So if you have a whisk at home, you can just quickly do this as well. So just mix gently. So remember to get a big bowl, okay? Because we don't want any bits to fall out of the bowl. So if you don't have a whisk, you can also sift this mix down, but it's not a must, okay? So next, what we're going to add in is the coconut. So everybody, you have your coconut. So those who are helping your mummies or your daddies, please help mommy and daddy to, or grandma or grandpa to put this into your bowl, okay? So add in the coconut, add in your raw oats. So this is 100 grams of raw oats. So you can also use quick cooking oats or instant oats, but usually I prefer to use raw oats because of the chewy texture, and also it's a whole grain oat as well. Okay, so we're just gonna add this in also. So the oats, we're gonna put it in. Okay, and then next we're gonna add in the raisins itself. So sometimes the raisins might be a little clumpy after sitting in your pantry for a little while. So make sure you loosen it up before you put it all in, okay? So if you're making the chocolate chip version today, so you'll just need to put in the chocolate chips today, now also at the same time, okay? Okay, so just break up the raisins if they are a bit clumpy. Okay. Just gonna put this all in. So what we have now is two bowls. So one is with your dry mix, and also one is with your all your wet ingredients, okay? So what we just need to do is just to stir this up, okay? So just gently stir this up. You can use a spoon as well. Okay, so just stir this all up, okay? Okay, once it's all stirred up, okay. So what we'll just need to do next is to put all the dry into your wet ingredients, okay? So you can just put half first if it makes it easier for you. So I'm just going to put half first. Okay, so just use your spatula. You can use the same spatula, though you don't have to use the whisk, because the whisk is a bit difficult to use if you use that, because this is quite a thick cookie batter. Okay, so you just need to mix it up gently. Okay, using the same spatula that you are using to mix your butter and sugar together. So just mix this gently. Okay, so once you see most of the flour streaks are gone, we just add the rest, okay? Okay, so all of the rest is in. Okay, so just mix slowly. So you'll find that the mix is very sticky. This is perfectly normal, okay? So I think those who are making this at home, at the same time, you'll find that you'll smell the fragrance of the gula melaka really come through now. Okay, so you see this is ready. So we are mixing until there are no more flour streaks left. So you see that it's quite a firm mix. Okay, so what I usually like to do is to actually let this mix sit for a while so that the oats and the flour can actually hydrate a bit more. So you'll find that the mix will become actually even firmer after a little while. So we can just let it sit for a little while. So I think you people at home are also mixing this up. So let's just give this just a quick little rest. Okay. So just now I was saying that I prepared my baking trays. So I also prepared my ice cream scoop. So my ice cream scoop is about 4 cm across. So this is a standard size that I usually use for my cookies. But if you don't have one, that's perfectly fine too. You can just use a soup spoon or a tablespoon at home, and then you can just dollop this into rounds later. Okay? Okay, let me just quickly clear this. Okay, I hope everybody's doing okay at home if you're baking along. So if you have any questions, so please do let me know on the chat section. You can just open a question there for me, okay? Okay. So I have my baking trays ready. So I have my trays ready lined with paper. So what I'm going to do now is to portion up my cookies. So my ovens have already been preheated. So they are at 170 fan for the ovens here. But you can also do 175 for your home ovens. You'll need to adjust that after accordingly, okay? So I'm just going to use my ice cream scoop here. So what I'll do is to just scoop them out and then put them onto my trays, okay? So just round scoops. So we'll space them out so that they have space to spread. So these cookies don't spread very, very much, but they still need ample space in between. So I'm probably going to put about 8 cookies on this tray. So just scooping them out. So if you don't have a scoop, like I said, you can just use a spoon, okay? Okay, so what you just quickly need to do, if you want them to be thick cookies, you can just leave them as mounds like these. So like these are tall little cookie dough balls, but if you want them to spread a bit more, you'll need to just gently flatten them down. Okay, so I want my first batch to be a bit thinner, so I will just flatten them gently. Okay, so I'll bake 2 batches, so two trays, and then I will show you how both look like. Okay, so we have a question now. Is it okay to use cookie cutters? So for this recipe, it's not a rollout style of cookie, so it's not suited to be rolled out and cut. So it's more of a drop cookie. So it's a cookie dough that needs to be scooped into balls or rolled into balls. So we don't have to use a cookie cutter here, okay? Because cookie cutter ones are usually for sugar cookies or shortbread cookies, which are which are cookie doughs, which are more firm, which can be rolled out. Okay, so before you put them in the oven, make sure the cookies are also relatively round, because this will also affect how it spreads also. So if it's going to be a very odd shaped looking one, it will also come out as an odd shaped cookie, okay? So get them nice and round, okay? So I'm going to scoop the other tray too. So this one will keep as taller mounds. So you realize after sitting for a while, the cookie dough becomes a bit firmer. This is because it becomes more hydrated as well. The oats and the flour have hydrated from the liquid from the egg. Okay? So if you don't want to bake all of this today, you can also keep the prepared cookie dough in your fridge. So what I would usually do is to portion them out into cookie balls, into cookie dough balls, just the way I would bake them. So like in scoops like this. So you can just line it up on a tray with a cookie sheet, and then you can just scoop them all out. And then once they're all scooped up, you can just put it in the fridge. So usually if you keep it in the fridge, I would recommend to keep it the unbaked cookie dough for up to 3 days, or you can keep it in you can freeze them also up to about a month. So in an airtight container, of course, so that all the moisture is still kept within the cookie itself. Okay? So you can bake from chilled dough as well. You'll just need to add a bit of baking time, extra baking time, about 1 minute to 2 minutes more if you're baking from chilled, and from frozen about 2 to 3 minutes, depending. So if you're baking from chilled dough or frozen cookie dough, you'll find that the spread of the cookie is less. So you might need to flatten them a bit more if you want them to be thinner cookies. Okay? So I'll let you adjust the size of the cookie itself at home. But usually if we are, I would recommend to make a size about, it's about one loaded tablespoon, because this is a soft cookie, so we want it to be big enough so that you can have the crusty outer and then soft inner. Okay, we have another question here. So my mixture seems a little wetter than mine. That's perfectly fine. It's also maybe because I'm in aircon at the moment, so the butter is already solidified a little. So if it's too wet for you and you can't seem to scoop it well, what I'll suggest is you just pop it into the fridge for about 10 minutes and then just take it out again, then you scoop it again. Okay? It's fine if it's a little wetter, just that it doesn't really affect the consistency or the taste or texture of the cookie. Just that it just needs a little bit more time to hydrate. Okay, it also can be because of the type of the different kind of gula melaka we use, or the oats that we use. Okay. So I managed to get one more cookie here. I'm just going to put it there. Okay. So for this tray, I will just keep it as taller mounds, whereas this one I will keep it as shorter cookies. Okay. So these are flatter ones. So like I said, you can either make them as flatter cookies like these, or you can keep them as thicker cookies like this. These will also spread. The tall ones will also spread, but it's just a different appeal. Okay, so I'm just gonna pop them into the oven. So I'm just gonna put them in for 13 minutes. Okay. So they go into the middle rack. Okay, so now we're done with the cookie bit. So what I'm going to do now, for those who have prepared your fondant at home, this is when we're going to make the fondant decorations as well. So we will just need to bake in the middle rack for about 30 minutes. We'll check at 13-minute mark, and then later on we will check again to see whether it needs more time. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to get ready all my... So what I'll need to make my fondant decorations is you just need a silicone mat, or you just need a clean tabletop, okay? So I have one. The bake time is 13 minutes, 13 minutes. So these are soft cookies, so they don't really need much baking time. So if you have made them in sizes of a large tablespoon, a big scoop, so like me, so I had about 15 cookies. So if you divided them into about 15 cookies, you'll find that it should bake for about 13 minutes to 14 minutes, okay? So once you have scooped those, you can actually get them out, get them into the ovens, okay? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to make the fondant decorations now for our cookies. So what I have here is some white fondant and some red fondant. So we're going to make some National Day themed ones, okay? So if you don't have cutters at home, that's perfectly fine too. You can just use whatever you have, and you can just shape them by hand also. I think the kids at home will also enjoy it very much. So what is fondant? Fondant is a white sugar paste, or a colored sugar paste in general, which is like an edible Play-Doh. Okay, so what we'll just need to do before we start is to... So what I have here is some corn flour, or you can also use icing sugar. So this is just to gently dust the surface of my table. See if you can get me a rolling pin. Yes. Okay, so what we just need to do first is to just knead the fondant. So if you have gotten, some of you might have gotten the baking kits, which includes the fondant as well. So what you just need to do now is to knead the fondant till it's soft. Okay, so you just need to press it until it's soft. So this is so that it's more malleable, so it's easier for you to roll as well. So I'll just knead this. Okay, so for those of you at home, if you have, I'm sure you are still scooping out your cookies and also getting them into the oven. So mine are also in the oven. We'll give a little check in a while, okay? Once it reaches the 13-minute mark. Okay, so I have my red color as well. So I'm also going to knead this, because you can see it's a bit firm. So we'll just need to knead this up. Okay. So once it's soft, it's ready to use, okay? Okay, so both my fondant is soft. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to make two toppers. So I'm going to make one which says SG55. so which is the age of our nation this year. Okay, so what you can do is to just roll it out. If you have a rolling pin, you can roll it out. Okay, just going to roll it out and then cut a round out. Okay, so I have one round. I'm just going to put some cornstarch at the bottom so it doesn't stick. And just going to knead another one. So I'm going to make one that says SG55 and another which has the Singapore flag on it. So I will need some red fondant as well. Okay. So this is another one. Okay, next I'm just going to roll it out again. So the fondant is just to make the decorations on top. So if you don't have any, it's okay. You can just omit it. Okay. So this is just a little decorative part that we wanted to show you and to make it for our National Day. Okay. Anyway, if you don't have it, it's fine too. You can just relax and look at me make it. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to cut out another round over here. Just going to dust it again. I just have another round. So what I'm going to do now is to just cut out my letters as well. I'm just going to add a little bit more of cornstarch here, corn flour, so that's a bit firmer. Okay. So I have some letter cutters over here, but for you who don't, if you don't have these cutters, it's fine. You can roll them into little logs and then shape them as the letters. Okay. So I'll just gently dust the bottom. So I'm just going to cut out the wordings. So I have letter S. Oopsies. Okay, sometimes it gets stuck inside. So what you just need to do is to I'm just going to cut out extras in case. I'm just going to cut. So I have my SG and also my 5. Just going to cut a little extra out. Oops. So this got stuck. So sometimes if it gets stuck in your cutter, you just need to just take it out and then we'll just make a new one. Okay. Just gonna get them out. So if you don't have the cutters at home, that's fine. What you just need to do is to roll them into little logs like these. And then you can shape it accordingly and you can cut it also. Okay? Okay, I'm just going to get the letters out. Just need to get rid of the excess. So I have a G. me get the S out as well. Okay, so if you are baking your cookies already, you can just give them a little check. If you like, you can just pop the lights on to see whether they are baking well. Just let them be. We'll check again at the 13-minute mark, okay? So we'll just let the heat settle inside there properly. Okay, I have my SG ready. Now I just need to do the number 5, the 2 number 5s. We're just pulling it out. After this, we'll make the Singapore flag as well. Okay. Okay, so this is the 5. So 1 5 here, and then another. You'll find that if you, okay, so for those who have the fondant, you'll find that it can be a little soft. So just work with it very gently, okay? Okay, I have a 5 here and another 5 here as well. So you need to shape it properly so that it will set correctly. Okay? Okay, next we're going to do we are just going to make the Crescent Moon and also the 5 stars of the flag. Okay, so again, I'm just going to roll this out. Okay, so if it sticks to the bottom of your tabletop, you just need to gently dust it. Okay, so when it's this correct thickness, so I'm just using a round cutter like this. So this is just to cut the round, okay? So separately, I also have a star plunger. So this is a type of fondant sugar paste tool that you can find in baking shops usually. So I'm just going to cut out 5 stars, okay? So these will pop up very easily. You can also cut this out by hand, but usually we find it much neater to use the plunger because the shapes come out much neater. Just going to make a couple extras in case we need them. Okay. Okay, I think my oven is calling me. That's my gloves. Okay. Other one is calling too. So how to see whether they are ready? So this one isn't ready yet. You'll see that it's still quite uncooked in the middle. So this we'll give it another minute. We'll give it about 2 minutes for this one. So this one is the thicker one. So the thicker one actually cooked out well. So this one is a bit much better because the cookie dough didn't really have much mixed in, so there weren't many raisins in that, so it spread a lot more. So this tray is ready. So you can see, let me just, yeah. So you can see the edges are brown. So it will still be soft in the middle, so just let it be. It will cool and firm up as it goes, okay? So I'll just leave this aside while we complete our fondant toppers. Okay, I'll just complete the Crescent Moon. So with the same round cutter that I was using just now, I'll just cut out the Crescent Moon. Okay, I'll just cut an extra one in case. Okay. Okay, so what we'll do now is that okay, first I'll do the SG55 one. So you just need a little bowl of water. You just need to dab a little water on top. Not too much, just for the letters to fix on, okay? So just use a knife or a spatula or just your fingers. You can just put it on. So it just needs to be a little bit damp so that it will hold nicely, okay? Let's put them on. For those at home who are baking along, if you need some help with how the cookies have baked up, please leave a question on the chat, okay? Okay, so this one is running again. Okay, so this has already, I've added another 2 extra minutes to this tray. So we'll just let them cool down first. So they will be soft on the centers and the edges will also just be slightly firm. So this is a soft cookie, so we just want to keep it, how to say, we want to just let it cool before we move it. Because if you were to move it now, it will be it will just fall apart because the sugar is still soft. So we'll just let it cool down now, okay? I will just quickly take it off the baking tray so it will cool a bit quicker as well. Okay. Okay, back to the fondant topper. We just have the last bit to complete. So I have one white, so that's the bottom of my topper. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make the flag, the top, okay? So we're going to put the crescent moon. The crescent moon for the top. And then we'll put the stars on. So we have 5 stars on our national flag. Okay. We just gently put them on. So I've actually made it damp so that it can stick on as well. You just put it on gently so that they are in position. Okay, and once I'm done, I will just quickly cut the bottom, a straight line, so that this can go on to my topper over there. Okay, so same again, just to make it stick on. I'm just going to quickly make it damp, and then I'll just move this on. So it's the same round cutter, so it fits on perfectly also. Okay. Okay. Okay, so these are done. Okay, you can get the extra cake. Extra tray? Okay. Okay. Okay, we have some questions now. Simply, will we have the video for them to rewatch again? Will they get a link? Let me check if SAFRA will. Okay, later, maybe SAFRA, you can answer our attendee who wants to get the video of this session to play back. Okay? Okay, so must the side of the cookie be as hard as it feels a bit firm compared to the center? So it's fine. It's perfectly fine. It will be more firm on the sides than the centers. Okay, let me just quickly move my cookie so I can show you. Okay, so after they have baked, right, they will be much firmer to pick up. Okay, let me just show you the difference between I'll just pick up the ones that are baked as a mound. Okay, so this is the batch that I baked. I didn't press them down. So you'll find that they are thick, and then the bottoms are brown also. So the sides and the top are actually have crisped up already. So it has a slight crunch, whereas the centers are soft. Let me just pick up the other one to see whether they're ready to be picked up, because they're still a bit warm. So for the second batch, let me just get them. So this one is from my second batch. So this is the same cookie scoop, but then I flattened them. So you find that they are a lot flatter than this one. So you see the thickness is different. So it depends on how you like your cookies. You can see the different thickness, and also the bake on them, even though we use the same temperature to bake, right? You find that this one is this one is softer also. So the edges are crisp, slightly crisp, and then the centers are soft. I'll just break apart one cookie to let you have a look. So this one is the thick one. Okay, this is the thick one. So when I break it apart, you see that the centers are very soft. Okay, so it's like a soft cakey style of cookie. So this is the thick one. So if you tend to like it a bit more, how to say, a bit firmer, you can bake it for a longer time. But you need to make sure you don't bake it too long, because if you bake it too long, the cookie might burn, because this has a lot of gula melaka in it and brown sugar in general. So it tends to be more sensitive to a longer bake. So usually I would just recommend to bake for this like less than 15 minutes or 15 to 16 minutes in general, like that. Okay. Okay, and then just for the thinner one, I'll just break another one too. So this one, you see that the bake on it is still brown on the back. It's still very soft. So if you want it to be like I said earlier, if you want it to be a firmer bake, you can also bake a bit longer. But I find that if you bake it soft, it will keep softer for a longer time or so. So usually these soft cookies, I would recommend to bake on the day that you want to eat them. So it tastes always best freshly baked or eaten on the same day itself. So I'll just break this one to let you see. So the outsides, so when it comes out from the oven, it will all be soft. So the centers will be soft also, but the sides will just be a little firmer. So what you just need to do is just to let them cool down and firm up, so that you can take them off the baking tray or baking sheet. Okay, so I'll just break this one. So you see that it's a very soft bake. This is a thinner cookie compared to just now. So depending, many things will affect how it looks. Like for example, if you have chilled this dough overnight or you have frozen it, it will turn out a bit different. It will be a bit thicker also. So this is freshly baked on the same day, so it will bake out as thinner cookies. Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna finish it up with to show you the cookies. So my cookies are still a little warm. So it's actually better for you if you have fondant toppers that you want to put onto your cookies. It's better for you to let them cool down more before you put them on. But we'll just put it on first so that you can have a look how we put it on. Okay. So I'm just gonna put on the topper. Just put one on top and another one here.
Okay, I have 2 more toppers, which I've made previously, so I'm just going to put them on too. Yay, so these are our cookies that we baked today. So I hope you have enjoyed baking these cookies with us. So we made Gula Melaka coconut oatmeal cookies and then made some fondant cookie toppers also.